Hello and welcome to our latest webinar in the series we're running currently around cloud applications. My name is Phil Wilson. I'm Senior Vice President at Inoapps. I'm here today to present to you on our subject, which is around what to expect in terms of business as usual support in a cloud environment as you transition from implementation through to go live and then ongoing support. We produce these webinars to help provide information to customers and people in the marketplace in terms of what cloud is, what it does. Hopefully you'll find it interesting. We've got about 20 minutes of content here today. There is, as I mentioned, other installments in terms of webinars covering different subject matters in cloud that you can find on our website if you want to go to www.inoapps.com or hashtag Inoapps Cloudcast if you want to look through social media. Feel free as we're going through to ask any questions. In the right hand side of your screen, if you're using a laptop or possibly if you're using a tablet, then at the top of the screen you've got the ability to have a pop-out interface which will allow you to ask questions, and we'll take them as they come along. If we don't have time, we will obviously, when we give you some feedback from the webinar, we'll include the feedback and questions in there. One thing to note, we're going to record this so that if you miss something or want to re-watch it, or actually if you want to share it with some of your colleagues, then you'll have a link to a recorded version that you can share with those guys. So today's agenda. So I'm going to cover off why or how cloud requires a different way of thinking in your organization as you transition into BAU. Also just talk a bit about what we now see in the day of a life of a finance or HR manager, and how cloud applications is helping them. What does a ongoing support model look like and what has changed from the old systems, and then talk finally about what's next, how you can continue to leverage your investment in cloud applications moving forward, and indeed I'll share some real insight into what we're seeing in customers as well. So before we do that, just a quick touch on Inoapps, who we are. We are an Oracle partner, been in business for over 11 years now. Came from on-premise for the last 5 or 6 years, been working in cloud. Been recognised in cloud for some of the work we've done both by Oracle and by some independent panels. Large number and growing large number of customers in the world who are using cloud as an alternative to on-prem. And actually we've done some fairly innovative stuff in terms of extending and providing services around cloud, one of which is our ongoing support type functionality, which I will touch on within this presentation. In terms of size, 320 staff roughly at the moment globally, operating out of 3 regions, ASEAN in terms of Kuala Lumpur and Singapore. Main heart of the business is in EMEA, which is London, Aberdeen, Edinburgh and Derby, and also got a rapidly growing operation out in Houston in the US. So to summarise some of the previous episodes we've been recording, what does cloud applications bring? Well, it brings you the ability to start to think about implementing standard, consistent processes across your locations and get away from some of the complex extensions or customizations that people have been used to building in a on-premise type world. It allows you to get up and running quickly. So when you look at cloud, we're seeing much more rapid time to deploy, and therefore minimizing the upfront cost and also minimizing the investment risk. You actually get into a live product within a shorter period of time. We're seeing people boost their productivity and actually spend a lot more time on increasing adoption, and not necessarily just keeping it ticking over. As I mentioned, we're seeing people choose to remove complex customizations that become a challenge when you're looking to upgrade, and replace them with standard business processes. You can still do customizations. You can still do some extensions where the business really needs them and the functionality doesn't extend that far. But a lot of companies have ripped out loads of old customizations that were put in place because the software allowed you to do what you want and design what you want. Obviously, once you're on cloud and once you're in the cycle in cloud in terms of adopting new upgrades on an automatic basis, obviously you get some choice in terms of when you digest the upgrades and how you digest the upgrades. You're in a consistent cycle of getting new functionality every 6 months, which for us is a major advantage, because we see a lot of people get locked in a version of application, typically in the old on-prem world, where to do a upgrade would cost a significant investment, and most companies don't really see the benefit of going through the upgrade process, so they tend to sit still for a number of versions. The software gets dated, and it becomes more difficult time and time again to do the upgrade. What does automatic upgrades bring? It means you're getting always the latest UI, the latest functionality, the latest advancements around all the areas, including areas such as reporting, which is a key area of success in the cloud model. The cloud applications are mature, they're complete. So whether you're looking at ERP, whether you're looking at human capital management, whether you're looking at finance, whether you're looking at procurement, whether you're looking at customer engagement around things like Sales Cloud or Service Cloud, or whether you're looking at EPM in terms of the Hyperion modules, Oracle has now developed a complete integrated modern suite of solutions covering almost all the areas that you would ever need as a business. We're now on release 13, which means there's now been companies that have gone through multiple cycles, upgrade cycles, to get to the latest release, and more and more we're seeing people deploy them and make a move to take on new functionality. So get a quick win and then extend. Obviously, because they're fully integrated, they're all embedded with the standard things around things like social networks, mobile integration, and analytics. And the same for HR. So all the areas you could want for HR around standard core HR, workforce rewards and payroll, workforce management, workforce optimization, again with predictive analytics, with KPIs, with dashboards, with all integrations that you'd want, and mobile connectivity, and also some social network stuff. Because Oracle own the applications, it's their responsibility to keep them all fully integrated. So that's fairly key in terms of why you want to look at having a complete solution end to end. And as I said, people are choosing to take an area first, go live with it, get some benefit successfully, and then start to look at what's next, start to look at what you want to go, where you want to go next. So what we find is that, and what we're seeing across the globe actually, is people have to start thinking about BAU in a different way. So, it's not just about keeping the lights on. It's not just about focusing on making sure that people are using the system. It means that you free your time up from worrying about the day-to-day running and operational side of the system to actually focus on achieving how you can maximize the return on investment. It allows you to look time at what makes you different. So adopt some standard processes, be able to digest upgrades on a regular basis, and then think about, well, what is it now that's going to make me give our company a cutting edge over and above our competition, and address the business challenges that are coming down the line. We're also seeing many more people now collaborating through the application, whether it's on Oracle Social Network or just by sharing dashboards and sharing intelligence and data to make decisions on. We're seeing this as much more of a centralized system without the need to take data outside. If you look at what you've delivered to your workforce, you've gone through an implementation project, whether you come from another Oracle product or a third-party product, which typically means that you've taken the time and the effort from the implementation team to think about what they want to deliver, and actually rather than go live and actually deal with the issues and challenges that we used to see, which is just keeping the system running, we're now seeing people very quickly get to a point where they can take advantage of the richness of functionality that's available. So, for example, as a finance manager, you get better visibility in the latest generation of applications around things, around where we are with period close. So you can identify exactly where all your subledgers are in terms of accounting periods in one screen very easily at a glance. You can pick key accounts that you want to monitor in your main screen. You can display all of this information in a much more enjoyable user interface. And given the functionality embedded in the application around items such as workflow, email integration, etc., you can identify very clearly what you need to spend your time looking at, and to get the system to prompt you when things need to be actioned. Which again, we'll have covered some of these items in previous webinars. If you want to go back and get copies of them, then please just drop us an email to info@inoapps.com. You can start to get some fast real-time reporting, so get graphical dashboards that appear on your screen embedded in the standard UI at a location that's relevant for where you're looking at the data. This is all driven by Oracle's embedded transactional business intelligence, which is very much an end user tool that you should empower your users with the knowledge and relevant experience in terms to use it moving forward. No longer have you got to necessarily rely upon an IT department to produce these. All very rich in terms of functionality that allows you to do graphing in different methods and on one common data platform that is consistent throughout and the application set. In terms of HR, again, a modern interface using modern best practice in terms of standard process flows allows you to again focus on where action needs to be taken by prompting you either via a notification, or either on your email or in your notification bar, which you can see in the top right hand screenshot. You can create and embed approval rules across the application, whether it's ERP, whether it's procurement, whether it's finance, whether it's HR, and that's about if a transaction happens, that's a transaction type of, say, requisition, and it's against a project or a budget line that you are responsible for, you will get a notification to approve it. You can collaborate via social networking. So Oracle has embedded in the application the Oracle social network. So within a transaction, if you're not sure about why that transaction looks like it does or is having the impact it has, you can ask the question to the group of people relevant to that transaction for more background information. You can also attach any documents to that transaction. So within the application, rather than having to pick up the phone or email somebody, you can drill through and find out more information and save moving away from the application. In terms of talent, within the core competency of HR, you can now start to think about how you can measure and monitor your staff and drive them to better performance. How you can identify talent and recognize that and take insight to move that talent through and develop it into where they want to go. And this not only helps you as a manager, but also gives your staff the aspiration to think about where they're going next, what their career development is going to be. So very easy to create talent pools and succession plans within core application. So what we're seeing is people now making much more use of the software much sooner after the go live and actually getting information delivered to them rather than having to go out and find information. So in terms of, once you've now provided that, people are beginning to use the system, people begin to see some real benefits. One of the next things you obviously need to think about is, what does a support model look like? What has changed from what the old systems needed in terms of a BAU support model? And what we're seeing is the responsibility for keeping the lights on does now reside with the cloud provider. So in the majority of our case, Oracle as a service provider. So our support now begins to function on doing or providing functional end user support or how-to type questions. So something's not quite working in the system, or they can't get access to the screen they thought they should be able to. We're seeing people put calls in on that of that nature, rather than the system's down, rather than the performance is slow. All that responsibility lies with cloud provider. So now you can focus on doing functional support, which is where we have seen the move towards. The other thing is, as well as doing business as usual type functional support, the other thing is we're becoming a centre of excellence for advocacy and what I'd call expert services. So if you look at the cycle we now need to get into, there will be new functionality being made available that you have to take as part of an upgrade within a defined set of periods, where rather than you going and trying to find out what is in that functionality and how that's going to impact you, we're very much seen now to be providing that in a proactive manner. So we'll review the white papers, we'll review the product releases, and deliver to you a report that says you're on this release coming down the line. These are the windows where you can take advantage of it in terms of a test cycle and then a production cycle. And in terms of what's in that release, we'll advise what has changed that either affects functionality that you use today, and you need to just review it and check and make sure that it doesn't need anything modifying in it. Or ultimately, if there's a piece of functionality in there that you don't use today that we knew from the process of either implementing you or taking you on that you would be interested in, we would obviously flag that to you and say, this new functionality is now available in the future release. You should look at it to see if it's going to deliver any benefit and continue your deployment and successful use of the application. So rather than technically keeping the lights on, it's now more about just doing functional support with some advocacy and assurance type services around what the future releases are delivering to you as a business. The other thing we're providing to many of our customers now is because of the nature of getting biannual upgrades and also monthly patches, the testing cycle that you would have at the point of go live needs to be repeated on a regular basis, but maybe on a slightly smaller scale, but covering all the key activities. So we work with a number of people to provide a testing factory, a testing methodology approach, which means that because it's standard software and because we know how the majority of people have implemented it and understand that the key configurations, it means that we can probably test on behalf of a number of clients up to 60 to 70% of the standard processes, which means that your focus and time required could be spent on the things that make you different. We also obviously identify what's changed within the system and test in the next level of detail to make sure that whatever's been upgraded or changed hasn't introduced any challenges or problems. And then obviously we document all our test findings for people that subscribe to this service and provide that as input to an end user, ready for them to take that forward and complete the cycling process. What this does is basically remove what could be perceived as an overbearing burden on the end users in terms of having to test on a regular basis. And it's something that's become very popular within our customer base in terms of saving time and also allowing you to focus on actually the things that are key to your business and testing those. So in terms of a support function, it has become much more of a functional reactive support to I can't carry out this transaction or I can't find this option. with some advocacy around, guiding and giving people advice on what's coming down the line in new releases. It's also become an element, a large element now is that we just take away the challenge of ongoing testing from customers. And whilst we're never going to advocate that we should take it all away from the end user, the end customer, if we can relieve that burden to a level where the cycle of doing regular testing is not impacting on your business, then that's what people like. So, you've got the latest and greatest cloud applications. You've now got BAU. You've got a stable system. You've got people looking at functionality and using data to help them manage, whether they're in finance or HR or procurement. So the question that always comes up is, what's next? And how do you then continue to leverage your organization's investment? And what we've seen, I mentioned it slightly earlier, what we've seen is many more customers now take a application or take part of an application. So they might take HR, they might take ERP, or they might actually go with a hybrid solution and actually start to put cloud HR on top of ERP on-prem, or they might look at some other extension of cloud. But once they've got going, once they've got some success, what we're seeing is most clients choose to do something else and add additional functionality within 6 months of go live. So whether that's they've gone live with finance and they want to go and look at things like expenses, or they're live with HCM and then want to extend it with Taleo, or actually they are happy with the reporting, but actually they want to now look at enhancing that and bringing in other systems and want some more graphical data visualization type tools and look at business intelligence cloud service. So we are seeing more and more people take advantage of new functionality, and that's a massive change. What we tend to see before is that customers will go live after a long and enduring project and then plateau and just take time to bed systems down. What we're now seeing is in the new generation is people starting to take additional functionality a lot quicker. The other thing is actually we're now seeing customers actually, if not getting close to, if not achieving the expected ROI. I think there's been a lot of projects that maybe set out with great aspirations that don't necessarily have the energy to get to that point where the customer can realize all the ROI expectations they had. And part of that is about the fact that as a customer you don't have to worry about the infrastructure. You can start if you've adopted standard processes or implemented the software as it should be and removed the customizations and removed the complexity, and you've no longer got to worry about the infrastructure, then people can start to think about what's next. How can I use this data better? How can I change the process to improve the process? So very much we're seeing people digest and consume and move on and take additional applications very quickly after the initial go live. So hopefully that was useful. As I mentioned, it's been recorded, so we will share with people a link, and please feel free to watch it again, or if you've got any questions, email us at info@inoapps.com, or if you want to share it with any of your colleagues, please feel free also. We also post quite a lot of stuff, information around cloud, so please watch out for us on any of the normal social networking platforms. I hope you enjoyed the session and look forward to seeing you again soon. Cheers then. Bye-bye.